Team, the purpose of today's training is because a lot of feedback we get around art of homeownership has to do with you know it's it's a lot. There's a lot to do. How do you integrate it into your business? Some people for the last couple of years didn't think they needed it. Now the number of people that are trying to sign up for it is pretty overwhelming because we literally, I was just got off the call with a guy who ran a similar type business back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And his business was really about, liability management and committing to the client that he's going to help them really manage the debt aspect of their financial world. And he said, the interesting thing about that is there's, when the market's doing really well, nobody thinks they need help. And when the market's doing really poorly, everyone's too afraid to try anything new because they don't have the capital and they're worried about recreating the wheel at a time where they just need to find deals. He says, so the sweet spot for people implementing any system or anything in their business is kind of right when business starts to slow down a little bit, when they're flush with cash from whatever market benefit they received for the past few years, and before it gets to the point to where it gets really challenging. I think we're at that point, right? It becomes clear because there's a lot of people who are reaching out now who we talked to a year or two ago, and they're like, oh, I don't really need this. And now they're realizing clients are shopping them. They're treating them like a commodity. They are, they have more time on their hands now to be able to start to implement stuff in their business, and they have the financial means to do so. So the reason why we wanted to have Darren on today is because not only is Darren a great Art of Homeownership ambassador, but he is someone that didn't quote unquote need the Art of Homeownership platform. Darren had been a $100 million producer, ran a group, ran a mortgage brokerage, and was doing really well for how many years, Darren?
Prior to joining, probably like 17, 18 years before I came on the platform.
Yeah. And, he actually is going to be talking at a training tomorrow with, but, Darren kind of made this existential flex. And for those of you that don't recall one of the past trainings, an existential flex is something that you do because you can see the future, right? Like it doesn't need to be done today, but it needs to be done if you want to survive and advance in the future of your industry. Most leaders and most business professionals don't see into the future. They just see the here and now. And if the here and now is good, they continue. And as soon as the here and now gets bad, then they start to make bad decisions and it gets even worse. So an existential flex is something that you do because it's necessary for the future of your just cause or the future of your industry in general. There's been numerous examples of companies. Apple had an existential flex when they ditched their previous software and to go to the mouse technology. Walt Disney had an existential flex when he stopped making movies and opened the Disneyland theme parks. All really great thinkers look into the future and realize I need to be different and I need to do something different in order for my just cause to advance. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Darren. Darren, thanks for being on with us today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great to be here.
So plan today, and guys, we didn't rehearse this. We didn't give Darren the questions in advance. This is me just saying, Darren, I want to learn more about your business, what you're doing with Art of Homeownership, how you're doing it. From everything I know, you're doing it at a really high level, but maybe tell us about your history in the mortgage business. How long you've been in it. What were you always a broker? Or do you ever work for a banker? And then we'll kind of get into some other things.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I got into the business in the first place, I grew up in a real estate family, but I joined the business back in the early 2000s, coming after about 7 years in technology. I started out in a .com, and then I got into the data center business. And one of the things that was a challenge back then as the .com bubble burst is I just didn't like the idea of not having any control over my income, my ability to earn income. And so I wanted to take matters into my own hands, which is what drew me into the business. And then with kind of my family real estate background, they were both on the commercial side, but it just felt like a natural transition. And then I just kind of locked in and got started. And I really kind of cut my teeth in the broker world. So up until recently, I was at the same company my entire career. I liked the idea of being able to go to different investors, to shop loans around, to kind of have every available option to clients. and to be kind of that, one size fits all, if you will, or that kind of ultimate source for financing. But I cut my teeth on just challenging deals. So I thought that's what made me special, is my ability to get tough deals done. And over time, you realize that that is just one other aspect of being a commodity, is you're the tough deal guy, and not so much the most valuable. You're just good at getting deals done, and technical and all those things, which are cool, but doesn't create any longevity in your business. And so when I started, kind of fast forward many years, but I got onto HomeBot early, before I knew it was part of the platform, because I love the technology and it made sense for our business. But the reason why I was so excited to be part of the platform is just because the platform ties it all together. But I would say, I'm going to leave it there, right? Why don't I stop there in terms of that? I don't want to kind of give away all my good answers, because I've got a couple, I think, up my sleeve.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, so I don't want you to put the cart before the horse here. So before Art of Homeownership, you had 17 years in the business, or 16 years in the business. What was your value proposition, right? What was your value proposition? Let's just start with your clients. If a client said, "Hey, Darren, I have B of A, I have money with them. They're offering me X. I have another person that my realtor referred me to, but my neighbor referred me to you. Why you? What was your value proposition before then?"
I mean, it was, in retrospect, it was somewhat thin. I mean, I think we were, really technical. So we were good at figuring out how to get deals done. That was part of it. Like, our technical expertise, figuring out how to make the income work and qualify, we're strong at that. We were good at matchmaking, meaning, okay, your loan is a great fit for, I was coming from the brokerage world. So on the jumbo side, we do a lot of business with Union Bank. On the conventional side, stuff like United Wholesale and some of the other bigger shops that are around now, we were using. But my value proposition was really like, it might have been speed, it might have been service, it might have been expertise and some relationships. That was really it. I mean, yeah, the same thing everybody else had.
That's my favorite part of about this. There is it asking people why you, and without I was talking to a group earlier this morning, and I honestly don't know what I would do now if my value proposition wasn't Art of Homeownership. And so hearing people say speed, service, certainty of getting the deal done, close on time guarantee, and trust building and relationship, we all say those exact same things, right? And they're all great things to say, but there's no differentiator. So what was your value proposition to your referral partners?
Well, I mean, at some point we talked about HomeBot a little bit, but my pitch to my referral partners, it was silly. I mean, it was like, okay, let me help you on your CRM. Let me help you on your database. Let me tell me what you're doing on lead conversion. What are you using for marketing? I would get into the weeds on the marketing piece because I understood that pretty well. So I could, I would kind of break their business down a little bit and try to kind of get in the weeds with them a bit. And then as I started scaling, and then I could speak to scale and how do you scale your business. I certainly didn't have anything that was really sticky. It's like being a great guy and, being friends. I mean, that was kind of it, right? Like, how many lunches could you do? And, maybe go for beers. That's, every once in a while. That was kind of the strategy.
Yeah, it's the challenger sale mentality, right? The relationship salesperson versus the challenger sale. And I think we all realize that the relationship person, although most people think it's the way to be successful, is absolutely not, right? That relationship person ends up in last place in that study.
Yeah, just to add to that a little bit. I mean, at one point, I don't know if, how many people on the platform have heard of the core, but I was part of, I joined the core for a little while. Somebody got a hold of me, so I jumped into that training program, and they wanted you to bang 40 calls on Monday morning. The agents are just like, that's exactly what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to call 40 agents first thing Monday morning. They're going to be pissed. Like, why would I ever do that?
Right.
So, and then go ask for coffee meetings. Like, yeah, I think I didn't know how to come in with my hands full. I mean, I thought I had some things that were up my sleeve. I think I got better over time and had a little more to offer, but not, nothing like what I have today.
What were your struggles in the business prior to Art of Homeownership? Like, what were the things that you had the most challenges with?
I mean, you're always trying to figure out that retention piece and kind of retargeting and making sure you don't lose, people out of the bottom of the funnel, if you will, or like retention post-closing. That was an ongoing struggle for us. Just giving them something that was tangible or that was unique enough that would make you feel connected beyond, the fact that you could do a great job for them. And I think we did pretty well in that regard. That I think we have a lot of past clients, but there's so many clients from years ago that I never know what happened to, that I'll never see again, because we would maybe go back a couple of years in our database, and after that we're like, oh, these guys are long gone. Like they don't know, they probably don't even know my name anymore. So
Yeah.
it was that. It's the treadmill aspect of the business too. I mean, that's the other piece. As you look forward, I really didn't have, there's two things I didn't have. One is I didn't have a good plan for scale. So I didn't know the roles and responsibilities perfectly, as what I've learned as part of the platform. And then the other piece is like that retention piece, the value proposition piece. I just didn't have either of those really built out in a meaningful way. I saw people kind of doing it, but I didn't know how to get there. So I struggle with that, trying to figure out how to get growth.
And what was it that drew you to Art of Homeownership? Like, what was the calling there?
Well, like I said, I mean, I loved HomeBot. So anybody that was kind of integrating HomeBot, but adding some more stuff on top of it, I was like, okay, this is somebody who speaks my language and understands that, yes, we need to be able to deliver more to the client. So I think that was initially it. What drew me there versus what kept me are very different, though. I mean, I think I just initially was like, okay, this is cool. It's HomeBot, there's a CRM piece, there's House Happy, which I love. I really didn't have a plan for the post-closing kind of ongoing client care, perfect mortgage promise kind of aspects. We didn't have any of that really built out, or certainly not scripted. And so I think those three things, right? Like some of the before, during, and after services, I just didn't have those really dialed in. And then, I think initially that's what lured me in.
Got it. And now one of the things that we hear quite often from our newer Art of Homeownership partners is just the challenge of integrating it into their business amongst their already busy / chaotic, professional lives. How did you manage to work Art of Homeownership into your business initially? And how do you continue to do that on a consistent basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think initially I had to get my team kind of convinced that this was the right approach and help them understand why this is so important. So anybody that I was working with as team members, I had to kind of identify the problem and help, share that we think that this is a great solution. So initially was getting them on board. And then I had somebody on my team who's really good at kind of CRM, database. And so I really put her on this as a project to really help me kind of implement, and put her through some of the trainings and some of the webinars, and got her engaged. But there's never an easy time to make any changes, whether it's in your personal life, your business life. I mean, it's work, right? So, but I've always been a fan of work, and I also want to build something different. And so you have to take time to build your business. If you don't, your business is super vulnerable. And you see all these people, not just in our business, but in any business, whether it's agent partners, whether it's, small mom and pop business owners all around the country, everybody struggles with that, taking time to work on business strategy as opposed to just being in the weeds of their business. And so in order for us to get growth, we have to create a framework to be able to do that. We have to create some space that we can do it. And it's not easy, but then once you get it set up, there's a tremendous weight lifted off the shoulders to say, oh, okay, I think I've got a solution in place for this problem that I've had for years and years and years. And that feeling is so liberating, because the progress you make as you sign up, and then kind of the support of the team, and then as you kind of start seeing it kind of take hold in your business, that's what gives you peace of mind. Like you start sleeping better at night, because knowing that, hey, they're getting constantly, dripped on basically through the platform. They're getting the monthly wealth digest. I've had more conversations about House Happy in the last couple of weeks, just because I just used them on, on a garage door that, on a condo that we rent out. Like the tenant calls me up, hey, there's an issue with the garage door. I reach out to them. Next thing I know, guys are texting me. It was so seamless. Like, so now I'm just like, every time I talk to a client, like, hey, by the way, like, don't forget about this. They're like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Like, this is a past client of mine. I just hadn't really had this conversation with him. She's like, wow, that's going to be really helpful for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a $2 million buyer client, like, not, first time buyer that could benefit from the services, right? So
Sure.
I think that was, some of it for me is doing the work to kind of get it set up, but then the excitement of, and that feel good feeling of like, okay, we are making progress. We're starting to kind of deliver on the promise that we think we should be able to make.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, well, I definitely want to get into the psychology and kind of mindset shift here in a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about how you're integrating it into your process now. So when do you bring up Art of Homeownership with a new client? And then what is what steps do you take to ensure that they understand it, they know how it differentiates you, and then, what's your process all the way through?
Yeah, I mean, it starts very, very early in the conversation. I mean, we want to make sure clients understand that we have a unique and different value proposition than anybody else in the space. Initially it was like, hey, we have a different value proposition than all of my colleagues here at my firm. That was kind of how I started out, right? Like, hey, just so you know, like, you're going to get extra stuff here by working with me and my team.
Yep.
It's kind of fun to do. And then, and now my conversation is like, we're doing something different than anybody else in the industry. It's really a platform kind of for elite professionals that are really executing at the highest level and want to deliver something different. But I make sure that they know on certain terms that our what we're going to deliver to you is wildly different. You're going to get way more from us for the same price. You don't have to pay for it. It's all free. It's everything we're doing to invest in our client base. But that's just, as soon as you say that, they just understand, but you have to be able to share it with them. They're not going to know, obviously, automatically. They don't, it's invisible until we present it. But yeah, I would say super early in the conversation, even on past clients that we've have a relationship with, I might say, hey, by the way, I want to make sure you understood we've invested in this platform. Here's all the things. Or I might say, hey, how are you liking X, Y, and Z, right? Like, and are you using this? But yeah, I think the sooner you can introduce it, why would we not, right? We need to differentiate ourselves as early in the process as possible. And
Yeah.
then in terms of, I guess, fulfillment, I think just to answer to that. So we, even with pre-approved buyer, or like even with buyers, we'll try to get them into HomeBot early to start nurturing and working on those folks. Depending on our workload, we may or may not miss on that a little bit, but certainly now we have everything kind of automated through once the file is active, once it's live, we're getting them engaged on update, or they're seeing everything happening in front of their eyes. So that process now, we've kind of fine-tuned that piece. And I would just say, for anybody that's trying to figure this piece out, it's not that difficult. It's just the sooner you can do it, the better. But you start by having conversations, then you lean on the AoH team to kind of help you get all your systems and process up to speed. But it's not complicated. It's super easy, actually.
What would you say to people, because there's been some conversations we've had to have where people say, we're just too busy to integrate Art of Homeownership? What would your advice be to them?
What are you so busy with? Number one, that's for starters, because I think we can all, as humans, make ourselves busy to ad nauseum and not be any better or further off. I mean, we can just, you could clean your car 7 times a day just to keep busy, right? Like, some of what we're doing to stay busy really isn't moving the needle. Number one. The two is, you can push as many deals through the top of the funnel as you want, but if you have nothing to keep them, it's, you just have a leaky boat, right? Like, you're always refilling. And that's a terrible feeling, I think, especially as you get further into the business. As I've been in, it's like, okay, what does the future look like? Am I going to be doing this? Like, I've had many, many thoughts over the years, like, is this it? Like, is this, I'm just doing loans until I'm 85? Is that the deal? Like, that's a scary proposition when you've already been doing it for 20 years. But there's plenty of people that do that. I mean, I would say the vast majority of the country, that's how they think about the business. So I see this more as like piggy bank style. Like, every time you put a client into your database, it's like putting money into the piggy bank.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way I can say to think about this, is like, are you too to save money. Like, it doesn't matter how much you make, it's how much you save, right? Like, all those things really don't matter unless you're moving the needle forward some way, making progress in your business. And it's better for your teammates, by the way. Like, if you have a team or if you're working with other people, it's helpful for them. It provides a lot of stability in your business that you wouldn't otherwise have. And so I think you have to kind of look beyond yourself too, and say, hey, am I doing as much as I can for my clients? Don't they deserve more? Number one, because now I know this exists. Like, and then two is, how do I make my business more stable and sustainable? And that's why something like this, it's so unique and nobody's doing it. The banks don't have anything like this, right? Like, I mean, I love talking about that, but it's the irony of that is crazy, but it's just the reality.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a good point in the head. Is we grew our team from probably 54 employees to about 85 employees, a lot of processors, underwriters, post closers, funders, and we did it based on the art of homeownership. Right? People didn't leave because we paid them more. They left because our value proposition, they believed in the mission, and it helped them feel safe. Right? It made them feel inspired. It made them feel fulfilled. All the things that we typically lack in the mortgage and real estate space. There's nobody ever feels safe because the market could do anything overnight, and people are concerned about how that's going to impact them. People oftentimes don't feel fulfilled because, like you just said, like, is this it? Am I just selling debt all day long? Is this kind of going to be what I'm known for, or is this going to be my legacy that I'm just completing transactions for people that need them? And then just having the inspiration to do more and be more and deliver a different result for a family's livelihood. I just love how you said that. In regards to other aspects of your business, are you doing anything outside of the Art of Homeownership platform to add value, to be an advisor for your clients, your referral partners, your team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm doing so much these days, but just to take a quick step back, I mean, one of the things I didn't say, but I wanted to say is that, it's not just the tools, right? I mean, there's so much more to this. The reason why I've been so impressed with the platform and obviously honored to be on today, but is the way that this has been supported by you, the team. I mean, we've heard, for years, all these bells and whistles, all these gimmicky programs and products. Everybody under the sun is trying to sell you on this or that. Hey, why don't you do this, PPC ads? Why don't you do some Instagram ads with us? We're going to sell you leads, all these things, right? For your business. Like, this is the one thing that I've ever invested in where I've gotten way more than I think I've paid for. So that's, I think anybody on the team and anybody thinking about joining, like, just know that you're going to get way more than what you pay. So that's, I think, from an ROI standpoint, very, very powerful. Going back to what are we doing for clients? I mean, I think, you've had a bunch of guests on the show. It's or on the webinars that are, experts in different areas. I just think our financial acumen, myself personally, but kind of as a team as a whole, has just gotten way, way stronger over the last couple of years. So I think we can just give better advice and guidance than we have before. I always thought I was pretty good at that, but I didn't really have a system and process for it. We really didn't kind of always get in the weeds. Sometimes you take the easy route, which is natural, especially if you're busy. But yeah, I think we're delivering more expertise, particularly like personal financial expertise for clients now more than ever. And it's easier to partner with our financial planners and estate planning attorneys. Like, those partnerships have gotten so easy now.
Yeah, we had a call with a contractor yesterday, and he goes, no lender's ever really tried to work with me before. He goes, I work with realtors, I work with insurance companies, obviously client referrals, but he goes, I'm not really sure how I can help you. And so we walked through our platform and what we do. And at the end, he was like, I can't believe this. This is an honor. Like, I'm super excited. I want to put you guys on our website for all of our financing needs for our clients. And I want to make sure that, we're working closely together. And it was just, you said easy is one way to put it. And I think for me, fulfilling is really great, because We didn't sell him anything. He asked, he goes, how much does this cost? Like, how much do I have to pay to be a part of this? I'm like, you don't pay anything, right? This is just us. We need you as a really great partner to be able to fulfill our mission for our clients. And he was just like, I love this. I'm going to tell my other, friends about this. And so not only would he be a client now, but our real estate agent who referred him to us is over the moon. We sent them the recording of the meeting, and it just inspires a whole hell of a lot of confidence. And I know I can go sit in front of any ancillary trusted professional, any real estate professional, any mortgage professional, and really knock their socks off with what we're doing and what our just cause is. And that's, I've seen that in you and in a lot of the other Art of Homeownership partners in spades. But I'm just curious from your perspective, whether it's one area, it could be multiple areas, what are the areas of your business where you've seen the biggest impact or improvement by being able to say that you're an Art of Homeownership partner?
Gosh, I mean, I think, one is just conversion. I think the conversion conversation has just gotten so much easier for us. So I just never feel vulnerable when I'm talking to a client for the first time, and we just feel like, okay, we're the obvious choice given all this, right? Like, so then you feel, that just it's a powerful feeling. And, if you're up against anybody else, you can speak to that. And I think even, the questions that you kind of learn through this platform are super helpful. The stuff that is probably like the areas where are noticeable in terms of kind of the business expansion is the partnerships for sure. It's truly like infinite, right? Like, it's just a matter of how much time you can free yourself up to now go out and build partnerships. This is like probably a year, maybe, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so, I cold call. I went on to LinkedIn, started looking up financial planners, knew, I could do the pitch well enough from AoH that I booked an appointment with this financial planner. I just literally found her on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm looking to partner with financial planners. You want to take a meeting? I take a meeting with her and I'm talking about what we're doing, but she's selling me too. She actually wanted me as a client. But what ended up happening is I didn't end up, I already had my own financial planner, so I wasn't going to necessarily, but I want to kind of hear their process. So I want to learn more about them. But what ended up happening is, one is I ended up refinancing her, the financial planner. That was like my first loan from them. But they're a great planning firm. And so now we just closed another loan with them. The client was wildly happy. They're like my content on social. They're super engaged with us. I'm dealing with not just the gal I met with, but the principal of the firm. So that's just one example, but there could be thousands of those examples, right? It's so, once you get comfortable in the value proposition, it gets really, really easy in all these areas: financial planners, estate planning attorney. I just had that call with my estate planning guy. Some of these people that you're meeting with are not as far along in your business as you might be. So that's something that you have to kind of like try to find the right partners. I think, you guys do a great job of that, Ryan. You and your team are very good at finding the right partners, but I would focus on, bigger partners if you can, maybe start small, but then once you feel confident, like, go after the biggest whales you can, because it's truly, you can land a whale with this platform. Nobody else has it. Like, it's free. It's super simple. It's way more valuable to their clients than anything they're ever going to get anywhere else. So like, it should, almost every answer should be a yes. And I think it's just getting yourself comfortable with it. And so many people are trying to find that, like, okay, this is a lot. How do I do all this? But it's just one step at a time. You just start putting the pieces in place. And once you can execute and deliver on the promise, then you can go out and tell people about it. Right.
Yeah. We have a question here from Ron, who's one of our Art of Homeownership partners. He said he'd love to hear your initial script you use with a call to a financial planner or a CPA. Would you mind kind of, role playing that with me?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I'm calling you.
I'm the financial planner. I'm the guy you're going after.
Okay. Hey, Ryan, Darren McLellan with the McLellan team. We're a mortgage firm based in wherever we are, right? Like, we're based in Irvine, California. I've been watching what you're doing with your business. It seems like you guys are doing some great things. I'd love to learn more about your practice. Do you have time to sit down and help me walk through what you're doing with your business? We're looking for a potential new partner.
Yeah, Darren, thanks for the call. I have mortgage lenders call me from time to time. I have a few that I use that I'll send some business to from time to time. Um, you know, I they're good enough. I don't really have a need for more. Is there anything that you do that's unique or different that I should know?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things, I mean, definitely we have a very unique value proposition, but I would say that the reason why I'm reaching out is we're looking for partners to actually refer business to. I'm not necessarily coming in asking for business. We have a process with our clients that we put them through where once we close the transaction, we help them manage the mortgage and the real estate. And typically we're going to ask them, how would you rate your financial planner on a scale of 1 to 10? And, as you might know, 85% of Americans don't even have a financial planner, but we're just big fans of planning on our team. Our big commitment to clients is to help them plan and strategize. So really, I'm looking for somebody that has a planning focus with their business that can help with cash flow modeling, help with retirement planning. I'd love to just hear more about what you guys are doing. Can we sit down and just can you really walk me through what you guys do? And, do you guys have room for more business? Is that something you guys are open to?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't get referrals from the lending partners we use. It's more of a one-way thing. And so if you guys have a strategy on how you could help us generate more business, I'd love to learn about it.
Yeah. Typically what I do with our partners is, first I want to understand what you guys are doing from a business perspective and see if it's a good fit for us. Because we're kind of obsessive about planning. We just want to look for partners that kind of have that same emphasis on the business. The research I've done so far looks like you guys might be a great fit for that. And then when we sit down, I can walk you through what we're doing what that makes us unique. We have a wildly different value proposition than anybody else in the mortgage space. So not only do we obviously do mortgage planning and help them get their financing in place, but on an ongoing basis, we're going to help them manage the mortgage, help them manage the real estate. We're really going to manage the debt. We look for planners that can help them manage the assets, do retirement planning and align with them so that we can actually manage the debt and have kind of synergy from kind of beginning to end. A lot of times you'll find that people aren't necessarily aligned there. You might have a plan with your financial planner and then, client calls the mortgage guy and they start doing something that's totally disruptive to the plan. So the more we can get alignment there, we find that to be, 1 + 1 = 3 type of scenario.
Yeah. I love that, man. Well, I'm in. I'll meet with you. Sounds great. Yeah, Ron, hopefully that was helpful for you and everybody else who's watching.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of ways to attack it, Ron. I mean, I would just try to find your own voice with it, but certainly easier to come in with your hands full than your hands empty. And any of us have the ability to refer clients. Once you get in that habit of asking your clients to rate their providers, it just gets easier and easier. I mean, these people don't have anybody like. I'll just give you another quick example. I had a buddy of mine that called me up. Hey Darren, I just got an ad for a 15-year fixed mortgage. He owes like $900,000, but his house is worth a couple $1 million. It's like, yeah, we're thinking about this 2.25 fixed rate, 15-year fixed. What do you think? Like, I wasn't pitching him on that. Somebody else did, right? So I'm like, this guy's name is Griff. He's a old friend of mine. I said, well, why would you guys go with a 15-year fix? Like, tell me about that. What's the thought process? Well, I love the idea of like getting this thing paid off. I'm like, all right, well, how are you guys doing how's your nest egg looking like? What are your cash reserves? How do those look? He's like, well, we've got a little bit in retirement, but we really want to get the house paid off. I'm like, well, Chris, so you have about $1 million in equity in your house, give or take, and you hardly have any retirement plans. Like, that's where we need to redeploy capital. Like, you should be anything you're going to pay on the mortgage. Like, let's build up your cash reserve so you guys can do more stuff, buy more property. Whoever's advocating to do a 15-year fix, like they don't care about what's best for you and your family. They're just like trying to sell you a loan. So, lo and behold, by the way, he's now connected with that financial planner, and they're working on a financial plan for him. So, and they're a great family, and but just living in a $2 million house and don't have a great financial plan. So,
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity for us to refer. At some point, I'll do his loan again, probably in the future, or another property, whatever it looks like. But that's what's so fun about this is it doesn't have to be around transacting. It just is a way to have a good conversation with people that helps them. And then that breeds more business. It always does.
Yeah, I think over the next couple of years, talking people out of 15-year fixed mortgages will get you more business over the next 10 years than you could possibly imagine, as long as it's, the appropriate plan for them. But I love that. So what, a couple questions here. What features do you see of all the kind of 8 different Art of Homeownership features? What features do you see the clients using the most, or saying that they like the most, or they're getting the most value out of? And then secondarily, which ones do you focus on kind of the most when you're talking to clients? Or maybe if you talk about all of them, how do you fit all that in?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody's different. What they value is different. What their priorities are different. Their acumen relative to mortgage and real estate vary on a client by client basis. So we try to initially ask them what their level of expertise is, right? Like, are you running, skiing down green runs, blue runs, or black diamonds? Like, where are you at in the process? What's your level of expertise? And then I'll kind of hone in on that. Typically people that have owned property before understand the challenges of managing the real estate. And so house happy is super fun for them, because they're like, oh, really? Like, they'll do all that stuff for me, and it sits with the house and they'll inspect it. Like, it becomes just super powerful and useful for them. So I segment a little bit depending. I mean, I try not to put my own filter on it, because you just don't know what people are going to connect with. Homebot's just very plug and play, right? It's we get just massive engagement on Homebot. People are always like, it's a super easy way to partner with agent partners. So, and you're just always getting kind of notifications and pings. I've turned them off myself, so it goes to one of my team members. And so then he'll notify the agent partner if they want a CMA or if they want information. But yeah, I mean, as anybody that's on the platform or that's trying to get on the platform, like, that's super sticky, and it high level of engagement. I think the pieces that are maybe lesser known, I would say Updater, we certainly talk about it. Some people are like, oh, that's really cool. And then other people are like, oh, I don't know. Like, they're so overwhelmed that they may not, pick up on it right away. But if they use it, they're excited about it, right? Like, some of these things are like, you don't know you need it until you realize you need it.
Right.
I think the things that are what I'm most excited about, though, is really the ongoing client care piece. That's the piece that's truly like so unique, that's unique to us. And that's, I think, the piece that is the biggest miss in our industry. And there's no real widget or gadget for that. And that's the piece that I think is where it's a little bit scary at first, but our ability to do that, is a huge separator for anybody else, because now you're really like, you're delivering on a promise that nobody else wants to make.
Yeah, I think, of all the things Art of Homeownership does, I actually believe the most valuable is the annual financial review, right? It's connecting that client each year, understanding what they're going through in that moment, what their future plans are, what their fears are, what their motivation is, what their future, real estate goals. And so, this is where team building comes into play. Did you do a lot of annual reviews prior to Art of Homeownership? Don't worry, I'm right there with you. I had the best of intentions. It was always on my calendar, but it was always the one thing that got moved because something else I thought was more important, only realizing later that nothing was more important than that. So, obviously not everybody has a customer success manager. Talk about what the customer success manager on your team has meant for you and your clients and your overall commitment.
I mean, so just as a whole, I think one of the reasons why I feel better about my business is that I've invested in the business as opposed to try to extrapolate every last dollar out of the business. And, I watch people like you do it, and I watch other, big originators do that. So, and listen, I mean, I could be at a shop, I could be, if I wanted to just be like the price leader jumbo guy, maybe I could crush that for a certain period of time until I burned out. But what I wanted for my business is a business that eventually that I can step out of. And so I've been investing. And so I started with, originally kind of 9 or 10 years ago, I hired my right-hand guy who's eventually going to be running our operation. But he was super helpful. But this is an area like Art of Homeownership is not for him. Like, he's a process oriented. He does processing. He really does pre-approval and processing. That's really where his strong suit is. He doesn't like to be client facing. He's not like, he doesn't want to deal with any of the other stuff. So I have, hired a number of people over the years. I made some bad hires too. Now I have a good framework for hiring, but so I have people helping me implement this into the practice, right? But the client care manager, this is probably the best thing ever, because now this daunting kind of post-closing management that you're supposed to do is completely out of my hands. I don't have to worry about it, but I can tell people when I do my post-closing call, like, hey, this is what you're going to get. And then when you get those annoying like servicing questions or the post-closing questions that like, oh man, I thought this deal was done. Like, what else do they need? You're on to the 17 other loans that you're working on. So I have somebody for that now. And then the idea is that, now you're fertilizing the soil for future business. And that's being done in a systematic way. It's done in a thoughtful and empathetic and sensitive way. And we can have conversations that I might be too impatient for, or I might just rush, to get to the finish line because I'm busy, and they'll do that. And so that's that. When you see businesses that are really successful, if you can, carve out some resources to help you do that, and especially if you can share the resources with other people, those are the businesses that really end up with this crazy reputation for incredible service. Because it's not, you have to have a good warranty too. Like, it can't just be you selling the product and they're done. Like, the warranty's got to be good. The reason why people like some of the brands that you and I all like is because they take care of you. They don't jam you up, and you can jam somebody up 1 or 2 times, but after that, they're not going to come back around. They're like, no, I learned my lesson. That wasn't that great.
Yeah. So guys, what you're hearing here is, team building is incredibly important, obviously. Having a customer success manager who focuses on your annual financial reviews, basically your post-closing care of your clients, is something that I would highly suggest that everybody either partners with other, loan officers in your company, partner with other Art of Homeownership partners, and really look into that role, because that will give you all the confidence in the world that you can commit to this client, that you're going to do all these things, knowing all these things are actually going to be done. So if anybody has any questions on that, let us know. Darren, another team member of yours that I wanted to kind of highlight is your biz dev manager. So obviously we know the 5 areas of a mortgage practice: leadership, lead generation, conversion, fulfillment, post-closing retention. You have done a really great job of, working yourself into leadership and lead generation. And a big part of that is finding and hiring a business development manager who can help in that lead gen, biz dev, creating partnerships, sustaining partnerships, deepening partnerships. How has Art of Homeownership helped your biz dev partner as she's out in the world talking about all things McLellan team?
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, she likes, so 2 quick things. One, I mean, I want to touch on that, but I'm going to step back for a quick sec. Like, I would just say, and I didn't say this earlier, when I got on the platform, I was definitely a little bit overwhelmed. Like, how am I going to do all this stuff? So just recognize that it's a super normal feeling for anybody, because there's a lot here to it. But, I've been on the platform for, getting close to 2 years now. And so it's taken me time to implement all this stuff. So, you just can't expect to build, your empire in a day. It's going to take some time. And, every month you get closer to building it further along. And I got tons of work left to do, right? Like, so just recognize that that's okay. Like, be patient with yourself, and know that I had that sense of overwhelm myself. It was in my gut. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how I'm going to do all this stuff, particularly that post-closing manager, because I didn't have a plan for that. Now I do. The business development manager was, one of those hires where you're like, gosh, do I need this? I'm pretty good at that. Like, why am I going to outsource that piece? Like, I think I'm pretty good at business development. And what I found is that, one is she's way more organized than me. So that's very helpful. 2 is that she can speak to the tools and the process way better. She can integrate with partners in a way that I can't do with the schedule that I have. She can teach them HomeBot and House Happy. She can teach them all the services that we offer, which is really, really fun. And because she's incredible at teaching those things, but she has so much ammunition. Like, I'm like, Melissa, you know that anybody should be thinking about working with us, right? Like, and she always is like keeping an eye on our operations, wants to make sure that we're going to deliver, right? She wants to make sure, hey, how's your lead conversion there? Like, I want to make sure you guys are doing a good job there. But no, now we're, we have campaigns now where we're, people that are running internet leads, like we can dovetail into their lead campaigns and drop them into AoH. Like, there's so many different ways that you can go about it with partners. But if you can get a good business development manager, they're just doubling your time in an area that's probably the most important part of your business is business development. Now all of a sudden you have somebody else that, they don't need to make the kind of money that you make. They because this is their only thing. They're not, their livelihood isn't dependent on you closing loans. Their livelihood is based on them, making, servicing and building new partnerships. So from a comp structure, it's not super hard to get there. And I think like anything, it's one of the better investments you can make into your business because it's going to be like long-term revenue potentially for you. The partnerships, spit out revenue for a long, long time. So it becomes less on transactional business and more on like partnerships. And then I think the other piece of it is if you can do well in this area, you can build meaningful, longer, like more, kind of partnerships with depth. And then I think for all of us, like, we never want to be dependent on one source of business or one partner that's like twisting our arm to get a deal done. That's like, putting deals into escrow too quickly or whatever frustrations you have with your partners. So if you can build out your network of partners, have it be larger and more robust, then you're not so, tied to that particular partner. And that's very freeing as well. And I think one of the challenges we have in our business is we find that we're ourselves beholden to our partners, and we don't ever want to feel that way. We want it to be an even playing field, if not, slightly tilted in our direction, right?
Yeah, we want to be able to add just as much in terms of lead generation and new business and conversion tactics as anybody else. So being able to have that, we had a call last night with a potential new referral partner, a real estate agent, and he was really impressive, and he had a low threshold for a low tolerance level for lenders because he'd been burned so many times, and everybody promises the world and nobody. He goes to end the call. It was about an hour and 10 minutes. He says, "Look, I've never had a dynamic lender. I've had a lot of lenders and they could get loans done and they had good enough customer service, but I've never had anybody who focused on helping me grow my business and being dynamic with our clients in terms of helping us really nurture them at a high level and add value." And so I'm really excited about this. He goes, "I'm cautiously optimistic, so now we have to prove it to him." But I think what you're saying is you're hitting it right in the head. Is we have something unique, which kind of leads me into my last thing here. I want to leave a little bit of time in case anybody has any questions or comments. How has you've been on Art of Homeownership now for 2 years. You're one of our earliest adopters. What has Art of Homeownership done for your psychology in the business? Right? How has it helped you with your clients? How has it helped you with your referral partners? How has it helped you with your fulfillment or your overall joy of being in the business? What's your outlook on the next 5 to 10 years now, as opposed to previously? I'd love to just know kind of what the mentality of Darren looks like today versus a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that I enjoy the business way more now than I ever have before. There was points in my career, because I've been doing it a while, like you just hit total burnout. You're like just fatigued. The deals, people are calling you at all hours of the day. I didn't have the team framework built out, which is a huge benefit of this platform, is really kind of figuring out how to build out your team. And so I was getting blown up. I'd take a vacation, my phone's ringing the whole time. Everybody, the family's pissed off at me. It was just kind of brutal, right? Like I think that's kind of taxing. It's taxing on your relationships. It's it can create a little bit of resentment. Even to the clients, which really are like, they're not doing anything wrong. Like, but you're like, dude, why are you calling? Like, can't you tell them on vacation? Like, they don't know what you're doing. But I think some of that, right? That's more of a summertime analogy, but I think being part of this community, right? Like, I think we're a community. Whenever I talk to other people that are part of the platform, and I've talked to some people that have joined the platform, like we're all part of a community that's after the same thing, which is really like, we should be, our job is not just to provide debt. Our job is to try to like really even the playing field for the people that don't have an even playing field. You know, at the end of the day, like I have clients that are, you know, I met with one of my clients last week. He's incredibly wealthy, but a lovely, lovely man. He doesn't need me for in that respect. We were fortunate we were able to do a loan for him, but he doesn't need me. But the other, you know, millions of people in America that don't have financial planners, don't have no idea how to manage their mortgage, don't have good financial practices, don't have anybody that really, you know, cares. Those people need us. You know, they need to have somebody that is trained, that's an expert, that understands more than just placing debt, that actually takes time with the clients and does a solid intake call, that's talking about what to expect moving forward with a post-closing call, that's doing all these steps to eliminate issues during the transaction, helping them with strategy, get the offer accepted. I mean, we need people trying to get people into houses. Like the data is scary around, you know, disenfranchisement with, particularly with young people. Like we need to be rallying that cry as a community to help people right now. And so, you know, regardless of where you stand on that, like that's a really worthy mission that we all are part of. And it makes this business become way different than what you think of as a mortgage professional, right? Like that's really where I go with this, and it feels incredible. You know, it's, sorry, my light just went off, but it's just a very, you know, it's a very empowering feeling for me, and my confidence has never been higher, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things we talked about on our team on it's not on Tuesday, Monday was a holiday. We have our team meeting, and I just said, guys, I've never in my 15 years in this business have I ever been more confident in our ability to influence people that we are the right decision for them, whether it's a referral partner, whether it's a client, whether it's, you know, a recruit, a potential new team member. We have every, you know, Danny Hirani calls it a weapon of mass destruction, right? That can be used against, you know, the mortgage industry to really set ourselves apart. And, you know, I borrow confidence a lot, right? I can borrow your confidence. I can borrow confidence from our team. I can borrow confidence from other Art of Homeownership partners. And my goal is that people can borrow that from us as well. And, you know, now is it's the perfect time, right? There's a little lull. I saw a report this morning that says mortgage applications are in the lowest level since the pre-pandemic, right? So we're at a 1.5 year low, right? Since back in January. And, you know, people are starting to feel that, but our group is not. And we are so confident that we can just go take market share, regardless of what happens with mortgage applications in general. And I want everyone to be able to borrow that confidence. And I want everyone on here to be able to borrow Darren's confidence. This is a guy that is a consummate professional for 15, 16 plus years, $100 million originator, who saw the necessity to make this existential shift in his business. And you heard it here. I mean, he's more confident now than he's ever been, and he's having more fun, and he's having a higher level of fulfillment, and he's doing something greater than what he felt he used to be doing. And that's really the entire reason we've created this platform, is to allow people to change lives for families that they wouldn't have done otherwise, and in turn, you know, have a better career, have more fulfillment in their career. And a big part of what you hear Darren talk a lot about is team building. That's why we talk so much on this platform about team building: who you hire next, what they do, what you pay them, what then you stop doing, what you do next. So I really hope everybody, you know, goes into the e-learning platform, dive into the team building section of it. And if you want more information or need more, let us know. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Darren? Feel free to raise your hand, type in the chat. We can unmute you, put it in the Q&A. You know, you have an awesome guy here to ask questions to. While we're waiting for any sort of questions or chats to come in, Darren, anything you want to kind of wrap up with, or anything you'd like to say to everybody before you go?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, the one thing I've learned is that, you know, our vision of our business, you know, what you see today of your business isn't the, you know, doesn't need to be, or isn't necessarily the vision of the future, right? Like my whole mission now is so much bigger than it ever was before. Like, and where I think I can go with this is so much broader than I imagined. And that's what's so special about this platform and the direction that we're all going is like, it's truly like limitless where we can go if you can imagine it, and you can start to kind of like convince yourself of the future that you're trying to build. Like that can happen. Like anything is really on the table for all of us, and we don't need to be limited by anything. And with something like this platform, it gives you a ton of unique selling points that you would never otherwise have. And for me, it's that plus everything else, right? So it's the mindset, it's working with other like-minded peoples, it's leadership of Ryan and other colleagues of ours. Like those are what I think we were all after. And it's not salesy, like nobody's selling here. Like we're all just here trying to help people. And that's, I think that, and the platform's all about that, right? Like it's not, they're just giving you tools to be successful. Obviously the platform needs to be self-sustaining, but like, that's what I love about it. And I think I think for all of us in the business, like that's what I'm the most excited about, is kind of what the future holds. I don't know what it holds exactly, but I know it's super bright. I know it's like totally limitless, and I'm so excited about that.
Well, thank you for being here, man. We'll leave on that. I think that's a great thing to end on. Your vision for your future is as wide as you want it to be. And our hope is that this platform allows you to increase your scope the same way it's done for Darren and his team. And Darren, we're really excited for the future of your business and everybody else on the call today. Hopefully this was helpful.
Hey, Brian,
as always.
One thing to add real quick is that if anybody wants to reach out, privately or whatever, you guys just reach out to AoH. They can get you in touch with me. If you have questions about, things that you don't, want to ask in the chat, or just, strategy or anything like that, I'm happy to chat with anybody. Feel free to hit me up.
That's super generous of you, man. Thank you. I'm grateful for that. As always, guys, if there's anything you need or want help with, please email AoH support. We'll work it into our training schedule, whether it's, team building related, whether it's lead gen, conversion, the 8 different pillars of lead generation, the 5 different areas of a mortgage practice, anything team related, just let us know and we are happy to help. But excited for the second half of this year. Thank you all for being here. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend with their families, and we will look forward to seeing y'all next week. Darren, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Bye-bye.